On the 23rd of September 2024, the National Hurricane Center in Miami posted tropical storm warnings for western Cuba and Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula after noticing disorganized showers and thunderstorms that had a high chance of tropical development. That night, heavy rain, flooding, and mudslides swept through western Cuba, and over the next few days, it upgraded to a Category 4 hurricane, tearing through Florida, Georgia, South and North Carolina, Tennessee, and Virginia. Over 230 people have died, many are still missing, entire coastal communities have been swept away, towns wiped out, houses destroyed. There really are no words to describe the horrors of all this. Throughout this horrendous time, I've seen countless terrifying stories posted on TikTok and elsewhere online from people who were experiencing this nightmare. Some had a happy ending, some devastating, some absolutely shocking and crazy, and some which remain a mystery. Let's investigate. This video will centre around Hurricane Helene, which has, and unfortunately will continue, to result in an unimaginable amount of devastation. I'll be covering death, disappearances, and showing some footage of the effects, so viewer discretion is advised. Please consider donating or volunteering to help those affected by this by clicking the links in the description. Let's start off with one of the craziest stories I heard from the hurricane. A woman on TikTok named Skyler, who before this seemed to only post occasionally about her local area with her dog, uploaded a video in the middle of the hurricane with the following text on screen. Update for y'all, the winds are at 55 miles per hour. At 5 to 7 there will be gusts up to 85 miles per hour. We have a few trees down and it looks like a few more are about to go. This tree here literally has a heartbeat at its roots, so she's probably the next to go. This area has not seen winds, nor the soon-to-come storm surge like this in a very long time. This is a record-breaking storm, so I can only imagine the damage that will come after this storm. In the video, Skyler shows clips of outside taken from different windows, and at this point, it looks like a really bad storm, but there doesn't appear to be any flooding yet. The upload date of this video is the 27th of September, but that's not when this happened. It seems she deleted all of her hurricane videos due to the understandable backlash, then re-uploaded the ones that weren't too bad. We'll get on to the deleted ones soon. Anyway, the next video, presumably posted just a couple of hours later, shows some pretty significant flooding in Skyler's garden. Her home is right next to what appears to be a big lake, and the water from there is just overflowing into the garden and down the street. How quickly this happened just goes to show how dangerous this hurricane was, and you can see it even more so in the next clip, when you can't even tell there was a garden outside this house, it just looks like the sea. Skyler is talking in this one, sounding defeated. She acknowledges she made a stupid decision by staying there, and says her entire first floor is 3 feet underwater. She also mentions that the power is out and they have a generator but they keep getting electrocuted. Their neighbour across the street got electrocuted so badly that the fire department had to go and get him. I don't know if that was because of her generator or his own. Either way, I'm not an electrical expert, but I hear having a generator inside is a really bad idea, like life-threateningly bad. It's probably a good thing Skyler got electrocuted, because she could well have died from carbon monoxide poisoning if she didn't. She seems to imply that she had the option to evacuate and chose not to, and I really don't know why you'd do that, especially when you have a dog. Ultimately, you're free to make many bad decisions that will only affect yourself, but if you have pets or children, you have to think of their safety too. There were many people who weren't able to evacuate, whether that was due to financial reasons or something else. So it's crazy seeing stories from people who could have evacuated and just chose not to. In the next video, she shows what I assume is the first level of her home, and it's totally flooded. You can hear a noise, which I can only guess is the generator running, so it seems she didn't learn her lesson after getting electrocuted multiple times. There was another video that night showing the even higher water level outside, then another showing more flooding inside, simply captioned, "Everything is gone." As I said, Skyler uploaded a couple of other videos at the time that have since been deleted, and this is where it got wild. To summarise, she had mentioned in another clip that her neighbour had a boat, and at some point she decided to get on this boat with some other people, presumably her neighbours. If you're thinking that they were all huddled up terrified just trying to survive, you'd be wrong. This was like some kind of party boat you'd go on in Ibiza. Okay, slight dramatisation, but imagine that toned down because they were literally floating through hurricane floods in total darkness. There was music blaring, lights, they were drinking alcohol. It was a pretty jarring turn of events after seeing Skyler wading through her partially destroyed home. I personally have mixed feelings on this. She got a decent amount of criticism because it seemed like she had just forgotten that people were literally dying and she's just there partying on a boat like nothing's wrong. I do agree with this criticism, but at the same time, I don't know what it's like to be in my home as it's literally being destroyed from the ground up, and I don't know what I'd do in that situation. I guess she just thought, F it, she lost her house, she might as well try and make the best of the situation. I have no idea where her dog was for any of this though. I can't imagine she carried her through the water, then dragged her onto the party boat, so I'm guessing she was just left in the house, which must have been terrifying for her. Anyway, the situation took a morbid turn when Skyler uploaded a TikTok talking to someone on the boat named Brandon, who pretty nonchalantly tells the story of how he found a dead body. She says, "So Brandon, you found a woman who died?" He replies, "Yes, really sad, and got her out of the water, put her on a wall, and the sheriff came on a boat and picked her up." Skyler says, "And then you had to get rescued too, right?" He replies, "Well, they tried to, but I had to go back to the house." Skyler, "You know this is crazy. We wish we left, but we had to try and salvage our house. No words to describe this. Kudos to the first responders because this is a really bad situation." Perhaps the worst part about this is you can hear people laughing in the background towards the end of the clip. Understandably, everyone who saw this on TikTok was absolutely dumbfounded. This woman had chosen not to evacuate, posted TikToks as her home was literally being flooded, she somehow made it onto a party boat, and now she's making videos casually asking her friend to tell the story of how he dragged a dead body out of the water. To give Brandon the benefit of the doubt regarding how casual he seems, he might well be in shock. That'd be an awful thing to experience, and Skyler kind of puts him on the spot by shoving the camera in his face and asking him to tell the story. Anyway, I wasn't able to find out who the woman he found dead was, or even an actual news report about this, but it's hardly surprising considering the hundreds of bodies that have been found. Whoever she was, my heart goes out to her family, and I'm sorry that this was the way people heard about her. Thankfully, Skyler survived and so did her dog. She learnt her lesson and evacuated with her dog when Hurricane Milton was announced and urged others to do the same. She apologised for the insensitive videos and, as I already said, deleted them from her page. On the 28th of September, a woman named Jessica Dry Turner made a public post on Facebook with a couple of photos taken outside from on top of a roof, with flooding almost reaching it. The post read, "I'm asking anyone that prays to the God above for prayers, not just for my family, but for all those affected by the hurricane. My family is currently on the roof of their house in Asheville, North Carolina, with nothing but the clothes on their back and one working phone. My parents, in their 70s, my sister and 7-year-old nephew have lost everything. They are watching 18-wheelers and cars floating by. In addition, part of the house they're sitting on is in front of them. They've called 911, but they aren't the only ones needing rescue. This is definitely a moment when faith is all you have. God knows the outcome already. I just pray for their lives, health, and an inner peace in their spirits that they know God holds them in His hands." What an absolutely terrifying situation to be in. They were literally sat on the roof of their house with everything in it destroyed, the water level creeping further up, knowing the chances of being rescued were pretty slim, and unfortunately, they never were. An update read, "My parents and nephew drowned because the roof collapsed. My sister got wedged between something. She was rescued an hour later. I cannot convey in words the sorrow, heartbreak, and devastation my sisters and I are going through, nor imagine the pain before us. Please lift my sister who lost her son up in prayers, and my other sister and myself as we come together to somehow comfort her and get through each moment banded together. She is alone, without a means to communicate, and we don't know when we will get to her." It's a miracle that Jessica's sister survived, but I can't even imagine the grief she must be experiencing. Thankfully, she was reunited with the rest of her family shortly after, when they were able to drive to Asheville and pick her up. The next day, her son Micah's body was found a quarter of a mile away from where she was rescued. Jessica said in the post that his final words were, "Jesus, please help me." There was another update on the post the following day, quote, "I need to clarify some details about what occurred. My updates transpired after I was told information. All details I received were from third parties until I heard directly from my sister. What actually transpired is worse, but I feel I need to let all of you know. My family was trapped on the roof as you saw. The roof did not collapse, the house did. Mama was clinging onto Micah and Daddy was struggling to hold on to Megan. He kept panicking and pushing her under. She had hold of a tree and was trying to hold on to him. The water took him. She saw him being taken by the current, and then Mama goes by her. Megan yelled, 'Where's Micah?' And she thinks that's when my mum gave up because she lost him. The look on my mother's face was absolute horror and defeat. Megan looks behind her and sees Micah. He was so scared, and she heard him yell, 'Jesus, please help me.' And we believe that's when he was taken. Megan heard a voice tell her to let go of the tree. She told us, 'That's the last thing I wanted to do. My head was above water and I'd go under if I let go.' She obeyed and was taken by the current until she was lodged between two trailers for 3 hours until someone finally saw her. Those 3 hours were a story in their own, with a voice talking to her the entire time. She fought and fought and fought until rescued. Once that happened, that's when she completely crumbled. We believe Micah, Mama, and Daddy waited until Megan was rescued before being received into the hands of Christ. The waters have receded and there is nothing left standing except my dad's law firm sign, and we've chuckled at that because he was so proud of that sign. Jessica's parents' bodies were both found over the next few days. There's nothing more I can say about this tragic story, other than I really hope the families somehow find the strength to carry on. The next story we'll be covering is short, but just purely heartbreaking. 78-year-old Jerry Savage and his 74-year-old wife Marcia had lived in a one-story home in South Carolina since 1975. They had been married for over 50 years, and their daughter described their love as immediate and everlasting. For whatever reason, they chose not to or weren't able to evacuate their home, but their 22-year-old grandson John was staying in their living room to keep an eye on them. There were winds of up to 140 miles per hour on the night of the 27th of September, and around 4 a.m., John heard branches snapping outside. He went into their bedroom when they were in bed with their dog to check on them, and they were shaken but alive. They fell asleep shortly after, and around an hour later, a tree crashed through the roof of their home, killing them both in their bed. The daughter told reporters how they had been found, quote, "My daddy was on top of my mama, hugging her, trying to protect her. The coroner had to pull them apart." There are a number of groups on Facebook relating to Hurricane Helene, some sharing advice and resources, others documenting the damage. One I found, named Hurricane Helene Missing People, is pretty self-explanatory. It's a place for people to share details about their loved ones who went missing during the hurricane. I wrote this entry on the 12th of October, and there are new posts as recent as a couple of hours ago, which just goes to show how many people are still lost. I'm going to show a few of the posts now. If you've seen any of these people, please contact the OP on Facebook if the post makes it clear they're a relative, and the relevant authorities. From the family of Stephen and Alina Ayers. Stephen's body was discovered on the 7th of October, and Alina Ayers is still missing. Alina is described as 5'6", approximately 190 pounds, with reddish blonde hair and blue eyes. She has a heart tattoo on her wrist, a butterfly tattoo on her back, and her front tooth is curved. Additionally, she has surgical scars on her knee and leg. The family is desperately searching for Alina, as their home is empty and no one has seen her since the hurricane. If you have any information, please reach to 211 or the Yancey County Sheriff's Office. Has anyone seen Autumn Eckenrode? She was traveling through from Indiana to South Carolina when her car broke down in Southwest Virginia at a Walmart garage. She was then looking for travel options as she was stranded. This was a couple of days before Hurricane Helene. Her family has not heard from her since. Please help, we are looking for our son. His name is Xavier Smith. He is 18 years old, 6'1", and about 140 pounds with chin-length light brown hair. The last time we spoke to him was in Shelby, North Carolina with his girlfriend Emma. We live in Colorado and we are desperate to find him. Please, if you have seen him or if you have any information, please contact me. Our hearts go out to all of the victims of Hurricane Helene. Thank you to all of the people working tirelessly to help with relief efforts. This is my brother Marcus Moore. He's missing somewhere in Asheville, last seen around the or near the PVA area, a South French Broad area. If anyone knows anything or has seen him, please let me know ASAP, or his mum Ada Moore, or brother Trapmo Moore. Thank you so much. We need your help in locating Alonzo Brody Stidham, who has been missing from Asheville, North Carolina since Hurricane Helene. Brody was experiencing homelessness, and his family is deeply concerned for his well-being. He may be difficult to recognize as he usually keeps his hair long but could have cut it short. Brody's family is desperate for any information. If you have seen him or know someone involved in search efforts, or hear anything about his whereabouts, please contact us immediately. For anyone with information in North Carolina, please contact NC 211 If you're outside the state, dial 1-888-892-1162 or contact local authorities. Missing since Hurricane Helene, Curtis Gilchrist, Asheville, North Carolina. Have you seen Curtis Gilchrist? He was last seen in downtown Asheville on Wednesday the 25th of September. People trying to connect with family members can call NC 211 or 1-888-892-1162 if calling from out of state. A video was posted on TikTok by Kelsey, a guest of a wedding that was taking place at Hidden River Events in North Carolina, showing a group of horses and donkeys stuck in a paddock. This was right next to a river that had overflowed, and the entire area was totally flooded, to the point the horses were almost submerged and the water was still rising. The caption read, "The wedding venue in Swannanoa told us to let their animals die rather than let them out of their areas. We couldn't stand by and watch as 8 farm animals drowned or got swept away by debris." So the group decided to save them, and the video shows one man wading through the water, which is up to his chest, to go and break the fences. They also had to use a chainsaw to cut the goats out of their shed and allow them to escape before they drowned. Although they managed to rescue most of the animals, tragically, one of the donkeys named JJ didn't make it. Naturally, people were outraged at Hidden River Events, and they eventually released a pretty long statement praising the group for rescuing the animals, but denying that they had told them to leave the animals to die. Here are a few excerpts. While guests were largely unaware of behind-the-scenes efforts being made to get help to the farm by the staff, a guest reached a staff member by phone. The guest was told more than once not to go get the animals because of the guest's safety, and when a guest said he was going to do it anyway, the staff person gave advice on how to do this. While Hidden River disagrees with the wording in the video that circulated online, the venue wholeheartedly acknowledges the pivotal role played by the guests and neighbours in saving the horses and goats. 2 employees who would have been there on Friday morning, including the owner, were unable to reach the venue because of the flooding. The owner was only able to reach the venue on Sunday due to mudslides and downed trees closing most of the roads in western North Carolina. While we are grateful for these heroic efforts, we are also disheartened about social media reports suggesting that our guests were encouraged to abandon the animals with disregard for the animals' lives. No guests were told to abandon the animals. During the panic of these rapidly changing conditions, we were not able to instruct or require any guests to risk their lives. The statement is kind of all over the place and it repeats and rewords things throughout, but they're basically saying that they did tell the guests to leave the animals because they didn't want to tell them to risk their lives saving them, but they didn't like the wording of the TikTok video saying the guests were told to leave the animals to die. So make of that what you will. The TikTok video is now being deleted, and I'm wondering if that was due to threat of legal action, but I have no idea. Anyway, all I can say is I'm amazed by the bravery and compassion of the guests who went to such lengths to save these animals. I've seen so many clips of animals, from dogs and cats to cows and horses, that were abandoned, some even tied up or left in cages, and I just don't understand how people can do that. But there are also plenty of videos like this showing others saving them, and I think stories like these are the only light in this incredibly dark nightmare. There are no words to describe how much suffering has been caused, but it's times like this that kindness, compassion, courage and unity shine the brightest, and I hope those affected can find some comfort in this.